the hotel registry, with my name and his signature. The page shouldn't have carried my name. Hotel registries are supposed to be neat lies, initials, times, rooms that don't remember. But there it was, written in blue fountain ink too careful to be the night clerk's hand. For Adrian. The column where guests leave signatures wore a name that wasn't mine, and below it, a room number I recognized from stories I hadn't been told, 1512. Someone had underlined it once, and beside the line, in ink pressed deep enough to scar the page, "If you still want the truth, M." I restore books for a living. My hands spend their days coaxing fragile spines to remember, flattening creases that thought they were permanent. My shop smells of paste and dust that used to be seasons. Evan, my partner, curates exhibitions for a museum with walls that believe they're wiser than us. We've been together 5 years. We keep 2 glasses on the counter because we learned early to pour water before speaking any sentence that might change a day. He'd come home from a donor dinner smelling like cedar and the last hour of a lobby. He kissed the back of my neck with the accuracy of a cartographer but none of the heart, and he undressed in the hall like the bedroom had started keeping score. "The hotel wanted me to stay over," he said. "Too late for the train." He smiled like it was explanation enough. He slept on his side with the neatness of a man who knew what he was hiding. The registry page came to me folded inside a journal a dealer had brought for rebinding. Cheap paper, marbled cover, half its signatures faked. Tucked in the gutter was the hotel's log, as if someone had slipped it there for safekeeping. The handwriting called me out by name. M could only mean Marcus, a gallery director who liked to stand too close during installations and who once said to me at an opening, "You look like someone who knows the cost of silence." I had laughed then. The laugh did not survive the registry. At 10:45 I was in the lobby of the Amber Crown, a building that wears red velvet like a promise it plans to break. I didn't book a room. I didn't need to. The clerk looked at me like men in clerks, suits do when they know their building's sins are bigger than their paycheck. I asked for 1512. He didn't protest. The hallway upstairs smelled like carpet that had overheard too many apologies. The door to 1512 was ajar. Light from the chandelier inside spread across the carpet like a rumor. I knocked anyway. Courtesy is a habit I haven't been able to unlearn. Marcus opened the door with his hand still on the knob. Taller than the catalog photos make him. Hair surrendering to the hour. A shirt unbuttoned 2 notches, just enough to seem accidental. He smelled like cedar and wine that had learned discretion. Behind him, on the desk, 2 glasses of water waited. On the armchair, Evan's jacket, navy, with the seam he refuses to have me mend because he says honesty looks better when it frays. "You came," Marcus said, and his mouth curved like he wasn't sure if he'd earned the line. "You wrote my name in a book that wasn't yours," I said. "That's persuasive." He didn't step back, not yet. He let the doorway be a hinge for honesty. "He thinks he's meeting me here to end it politely," Marcus said. "He promised not to embarrass the donors. I thought you should have the room before he gets the speech right." "How long?" I asked, because arithmetic beats theater when your blood wants metaphors. 8 months, he said. His shoulders didn't flinch. "It started with rain and an elevator that stopped like it meant something. A lobby that sells permission. I ended it twice. He sent me a photograph of your breakfast with a complaint about my captions. I respected the sentence more than I should have." He stepped aside and let me in. The room was quiet in the way only expensive lamps can be. He poured water and passed me a glass. Our fingers touched. Heat has its own handwriting. He stopped short of closing the space. His hand hovered at my wrist, an inch that belonged to nobody but the air. That restraint was more indecent than touch. The lock clicked again, Evan walked in with his docent face, the one he uses for donors who like being told where their money has meaning. He saw me. He saw Marcus. He saw the jacket, the glasses, the inch of air. He closed the door with respect for hinges. That was almost enough to make me remember why I'd loved him. "Okay," he said. The word sat down between us like it had a right. "You could have kept the registry out of my shop," I said. "You chose not to." "I chose incompetence," he said. "And then cowardice. I cheated. I told myself it was weather. I told myself home is a noun that can survive rain. I told myself your patience is elastic because you fix fragile things. I told myself spark was structure. I don't want to hear me anymore." Marcus had drifted toward the window the way decent men leave air for others. He raised his hand toward my neck, stopped at that inch, and lowered it like he was returning a tool he'd borrowed too long. The quiet carried weight. "What do you want me to do?" Evan asked. He did not reach. Reaching is a contract wrists signed before brains read it. "You'll end it," I said. "You'll sleep on the couch we refuse to call a guest anything. Next week you'll tell me what this was twice, once with your polished museum voice, once with small words. I'll decide what my hands can hold without lying to my wrists." "I'll do that," he said, and his voice for once didn't sound curated. Marcus exhaled and stepped close enough that his breath could sketch a map along my jaw. He set his mouth near my ear without touching. Warmth rearranged furniture in me and left no mess. "Thank you for not making me a lesson," he said. "We both would have believed you." He left through the door without letting it audition for punctuation. Evan and I stayed standing because sitting would have turned posture into theater. The jacket still hung over the chair, its seam whispering what fabric knows about loyalty. I put my glass on the desk because water deserves surfaces. "I'm not leaving tonight," I said. "We'll walk home without touching. We'll wait at crosswalks because other people's knees and our better natures both deserve seconds. You'll sleep on the couch. Tomorrow you'll end it without complimenting him. Next week you'll bring me small words." He nodded. He didn't cry. I loved him for that even then. We left the hotel lobby in silence, the red velvet still trying to be witness. On the street, a cyclist cut too close and Evan's palm rose in reflex, hovering near my hip, offering a mercy I could want and refuse at the same time. I refused. Boredom, correctly applied, keeps locks honest. At home, the kettle auditioned for a larger role. He laid blankets on the couch with curator care. I slept in a bed that had decided to be neutral. Morning came without metaphors. He returned from the hotel smelling like nothing, the cologne adulthood should issue. He told me he had ended it. He told me twice. In museum voice, a narrative of donors and timing. In small words, he liked being two men because one of them wasn't tired. He mistook adrenaline for architecture. He could be one person if I let him do the work. I let him. That isn't nobility, it's arithmetic with feelings. He slept on the couch for 6 nights and relearned the distance between our door and our bed like a route he didn't brag about. On the 7th, he came to me with hands that remembered the lazy precision we taught each other early and nearly forgot. There is an erotics of restraint that refuses applause. There is a thrill in choosing not to ruin morning. 2 days later, Marcus texted, "Thank you for telling the truth in a room that lies for a living." I wrote back, "Try it where nothing performs." He didn't answer, which was the second best thing he did. Work stayed exact. A man brought me his grandmother's Bible with a spine that had lived 3 lives. I mended it with linen and glue that smelled of patience. A teenager brought a torn comic and I taped it straight, let him hold it while the crease forgave him. I pressed a wedding album flat and listened to photographs decide they'd survived worse. A week later, I saw Marcus outside the museum. He looked smaller. Maybe my anger had stopped needing him to be tall. He said hello without trying to own my afternoon. He did not smell like cedar. The space between us behaved itself. He left without auditioning for a moral. Here is the part people tell badly because drama pays better. I wanted him. Not his life, not his gallery, him. I wanted the inch, the heat, the courteous discipline of a hand that knew where not to touch. I wanted to make a mistake beautiful enough to narrate on the way home. I didn't. Wanting is a sentence, not a command. Bodies vote. Ethics count. Boredom is mercy if it lets you like yourself at noon. Evan and I adjusted the frame. 2 glasses before 3 sentences. Less reach, better touch. We stopped letting the kettle decide tone. At openings, we stand near exits not because we plan to leave, but because rooms breathe better when doors aren't theirs. He leaves his phone face down on the console now, as if attention is something you have to design every day. If another registry lands on my desk with my name written in ink that means too much, I will bring water. I will sit where the exit is obvious and refuse to call that cowardice. If a hand rises toward my throat, I will let the inch exist and answer in a tense I can live with at breakfast. I will keep choosing verbs that keep us possible. End, stay, tell, work, touch, wait. And when I lay a cracked spine flat under linen and hear the fibers sigh back into cooperation, when a book returns to being itself without forgetting it was broken, I will think of the hotel registry and the night we declined a finale in favor of repair. And I will call that deliberate air the most difficult thing I know how to make, and the only one that still holds when daylight forgets its lines.